Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green, and this is Wise Woman Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on what is your purpose right now. So we might have these broad, sweeping life purpose, soul purpose, mission kind of readings and awarenesses. And this is about what is your purpose right now. We're going to narrow it down, give it some focus for where you are at in your life at the moment. So I encourage you to stick around. If you find that you enjoy this reading or resonate, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, you can check out those details below or visit the link erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, I do have 2 other YouTube communities. I'd love to have you check out those channels and see you over there. Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television, both of which, again, are linked below right alongside my books on Amazon, which are available for purchase as well. So I will go ahead and place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from today. As always, you are choosing from left to right. Okay, card pile 1. What is your purpose right now? So I feel like as soon as I pulled these cards earlier, I felt like this was about using whatever experience you're going through, which very well may feel like a challenge or a struggle or a hardship, to use it to make you stronger and to use it for good, to use it towards something that makes you feel better as opposed to feeling worse. Now, here's the thing. It's not that we ignore, neglect, or dishonor our feelings if they come up and we decline them or deny them and be like, oh, I'm going to feel better or I'm going to feel good, toxic positivity, and just ignore what's actually there. No, this is more about when we tend to ruminate on something or overthink something or analyze something or judge something to where it makes us feel worse. Does that make sense? So things might pop up inside of us or things might happen outside of us. And the initial emotion that might have to, like the bundle of sensations and thoughts that come up as a result of that experience, it's one thing. But when we make it an even bigger thing, right? Molehill to mountain, and we make it something bigger than what it was, facts versus feelings, that's when we kind of get ourselves into a bundle, right? Our underwear's in a twist. And it's like using this opportunity to, instead of getting you down, to build you up. It's kind of like boot camp. It breaks you down to build you back up. So you might be asking yourself, how can I use this energy or this experience in a constructive way as opposed to a destructive way? How can I use this to actually build me up and move me toward where I want to go as opposed to bring me down, hook, line, and sinker and forget about it. But there's also this energy of understanding too, and compassion and love and forgiveness. So I feel like for some of you, there might be an opportunity here to offer that to yourself as you're hitting up against walls and as you're hitting up against limits or judgments or challenges. Really offering yourself that compassion as well and loving yourself through it as best as you can, reparenting yourself. But also I do feel like in this case, there is a reassuring message message of comfort, of soothing, of safety, of love from your guides, from your angels, your spiritual support team, whatever you consider the other side, past on loved ones, ancestors, light beings, whatever your flavor is of that. I do feel like, which is rare, but I do feel like in this case, there is this message of you're okay, you're going to be okay, we love you. Just this really beautiful message of love and that you are cared for and that you are being watched and taken care of, whether you're able to see, recognize, or perceive that or not. So it's using the situation for good. It's using it constructively and using it to where you want to go, letting it build you up instead of break you down. Now, and there are some times where we are broken down, and that's a part of the process. A part of the process of growth is allowing some things to fall away and be rebuilt, or new things to replace old things. So it's not a matter of being stubborn and digging your heels in the sand and not allowing yourself to budge or to change or to move. It's more about, if the process must break you, doing it with a frame or perspective that is constructive and honoring as opposed to destructive. I hope that makes sense. It's like we can take things in a way that feel personal and violating and harmful and traumatic. Sometimes we don't get a choice in how it's all done. But in the long term, we do get a choice as to how we frame it. So I do feel like there's an opportunity here in terms of a shift in framing, a shift in perception, perspective, or mindset that can support you in using whatever this experience was for good and for benefit, so that it wasn't in vain, so that it is toward a higher purpose, a truer purpose. Yeah, again, I feel like, so your purpose right now is to become more empowered in this process, in this experience, in this healing. Whatever you're moving through, whatever you're navigating, there's an opportunity for greater self-empowerment and seeing it from an empowered lens, an empowered filter, an empowered perspective. It's interesting because I keep getting these energies of like strength, but also the opposing energy that kind of feels opposing of grace, where it's like recognizing how empowered you are, but also recognizing how well you are supported, recognizing how strong you are and choosing to use this in a constructive way, while also recognizing how much you are loved. Using this opportunity as a breakdown for buildup, but also offering yourself grace and softness and tenderness. Doing the work that you must do, but also knowing you're supported. So I am feeling this sort of diametrically opposed energies, but that are also supportive, that are both supportive, especially when offered together. So more empowerment, but also, again, offering yourself the understanding, that forgiveness, the love. It's almost like the energy is a matter of like that boot camp, right? Breaking you down to build you back up. And that's what it's trying to do, whether it be life, God, source, higher power, your own consciousness, the will of your own soul, or your higher self, or your mind. That might be happening and that might be underway, and it's allowing that process and becoming empowered in that process and making choices with that process and choosing to use that energy constructively. And along the way, loving yourself, honoring yourself, soothing yourself, offering yourself grace, letting yourself receive, letting yourself be supported, letting yourself be loved. Yeah, you're going through a period of what feels like cocooning. So it's like if you've experienced a challenge or a hardship or a difficulty or a struggle or any kind of sort of major stressor or strife in your life, this is an opportunity where you're sort of turning inward so that you're able to transform. I've always had this vision of someone who kind of goes in and turns inward and like they expand and then like they release a bunch of stuff, and they expand and they release a bunch of stuff. And it's almost like things continue to sort of fall away or burn off or whatever, the things that aren't truly serving you, or the barriers toward who it is you really are, or what it is you truly want. You're just getting closer and closer to that true self, authentic self, the unconditioned self, the unprogrammed self. But I feel like this is a time of healing, a time of cocooning, a time of transformation, where you might be more introspective, you might be more solitudinal, you might be more self-focused and inward focused. And that's great. That's right where you want to be. And it's like just being tender with yourself, letting yourself be here, letting yourself be healed, supporting yourself with whatever medicine you might need in whatever form it comes. So some of you, I just got this, and it's not going to be for everyone. It's not at all going to be for everyone. So apply what comes through here to your situation, your circumstances. But some of you might be dealing with a chronic health issue or a new diagnosis of a health issue, and you're moving through the feels and experiences and shifts of that, if not the treatment that is required for it. That's not going to be for everybody, but it probably will be for a small minority, in which case, you're going through that experience of introspection, of surrender, of letting go, and hitting up all the barriers and the limits. Again, the being broken down to be built back up. Now, speaking just general to everybody, not necessarily to the chronic health or acute health issue situation. Again, this is just focusing right now while all this is happening. The energy of life is taking care of this. There's really nothing you need to do. Life is already breaking things down and doing what it needs to do. So your only job is loving yourself and supporting yourself through it and being easy on yourself, taking good care of yourself, whether it's feeding yourself good foods, getting yourself daily sunshine, lots of water, spending quiet time apart, what animals would do to heal, what humans do to heal naturally, instinctively, when they're not being forced to like succumb to the system and do all the things and the practicalities. It's like, what would they do? They'd spend time outside. What would they do? They drink a lot of water. They might rest a lot. They might take really good care of themselves. So That's what you're being asked to do right now. Your purpose right now is just to tend to yourself, to take care of yourself, to allow life to do the work of what it's doing right now, which is very much one form of breaking you down to build you back up. Again, life is going to take care of whatever it needs to take care of, right? Cellular development happens automatically. A baby fetus develops naturally, organically. The heart beats all by itself, meaning we don't have to even play a role in this, right? We might be consciously aware which supports it. So that way, sometimes our mind gets in the way and it makes it easier because we're able to see it for what it is and make conscious choices. But sometimes it gets in the way and we get in our way and it becomes a whole problem. We resist it, we're pushing it, we're fighting, we won't, we're stubborn, we dig our heels in. That's the kind of energy that we don't want, right? And even if you have that, okay, accept that too. So it's not like you don't have a response to that. Your primary job is to take good and delicious care of yourself right now, really tend to yourself. Life is going to take care of the rest. So card pile 1, that is your purpose right now. I'd love to hear your comments, your shares, your stories. Do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, purchase a personal reading, you can visit the link below or erritygreen.com/shop. I do have 2 other channels. I'd love to see you over in those communities. Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Television. Those are also linked right next to my books on Amazon, if those tickle your fancy. All right, card pile 1, thank you. Until next time. Card pile 2, what is your purpose right now? So this is about you living in a space of trust, trusting that things are working out, trusting that things are unfolding, and not just like trusting that things are unfolding in your favor. It's easy to have faith and to have trust when things are going our way. When it's harder to trust, the true test of faith is when things are not going our way. So we can act like we are spiritual people or a person of faith or a person of belief or a person who advocates for a higher power. It's really easy to do when things are good. But who are we when things aren't good, right? Who are we when stuff hits the fan? Who are we when things go awry or don't go according to plan? Okay, that's the true test of faith. That's the test of faith. Not when things are easy, not when things are good, not when things are gravy. It's when S is hitting the fan. That's the test of faith. So there's a trust here of recognizing that everything is in right order. Everything is happening, the right time, the right place. Like, it's trusting the unfolding of events, that it's ultimately for your highest good, for your greatest benefit. It's trusting that things are falling into place as they should to move you where you want to go, even if it's hard to face the things in the meantime that appear to not be going your way. And there is, again, this call for big, big, big trust, meaning not the kind of trust like, oh, things are going to go your way and we're promising you that. It's also not saying you're not going to get what you want, right? It's not promising either, but that's the whole point. The message here is, that's not what faith is. That's not what trust is. Faith and trust aren't, oh, we promise things are going to go your way and everything's going to go well and everything's going to turn out really great. It's, will you trust, period. That's a tough thing to do. And so there's an immense measure of trust that's being called forth from you, but it's almost like shifting, morphing you into a really strong, higher order version of yourself, like the kind of trust where you can sort of face anything, surmount any obstacle, accept any happening that were to come your way. It's building you into such a strong, unwavering, convicted being of almost spiritual prowess. It's not just this feeling of, a strong, wise human. It's like, this is birthing something really powerful in you of a spiritual nature. There's a spiritual growth and evolution happening here within the experience that you're having. And so this call to a higher faith or to a higher trust is helping you step into greater self-mastery. It just feels really powerful, and it's something that's actually really supportive for your growth, for your spiritual evolution, for who you want to be, for this mastery that I feel like you have sought for this lifetime in particular. You sought a really high level or a considerable level of mastery here, and this is one of those areas. It kind of reminds me of like the visual that I got, which is interesting, is someone standing, this is crazy, someone standing on if you are in pile 2, please let me know you're in pile 2, but tell me what I'm talking about, because when I see this 4 weeks from now, when it's finally posted, I'm not going to know what the thing is. You have to tell me, oh, I'm pile 2, where test of faith and trust. Okay, tell me, and then it'll give me some context. So I see you, a person standing on a stool, And it's like you trust so much and so well. When someone takes that tool from under your feet, you don't fall. You're suspended in air. What? Like, that's what I get. Like, you're so trusting of a higher power, so mastered in your belief, so convicted in your trust, that it's like the level of Jesus, of Buddha. Like, we're talking magical spiritual abilities and power. Whether that actually manifests in that and you become Jesus, unlikely, okay? But also likely. Who am I to say? I'm not going to limit you. But I get this energy that it's so trusting that you know you're not going to fall. When that stool is taken from you, you know, so convicted that you are not falling, that despite the physical reality of a stool being pulled from underneath your feet, you hover. That's the kind of trust we're talking about. That's the kind of faith we're talking about. You become a master. I feel like you become a spiritual master. Like, I really feel like that's what's happening with you, your purpose right now. So maybe you don't become the spiritual master right now, but this, whatever is underway right now, this current of your life, wherever this is moving you through and to, it's this unfolding, unveiling of such a higher order, next level of trust that it's so unwavering and it's so powerful that you become a spiritual master. So incredible change right now. We have 2 change, manifestation, transformation cards. So I feel like this is changing you from the inside out, you know, at a cellular level, a spiritual level, the quantum level, really being brought forth into your quote unquote highest self, truest self, where any kind of limits or barriers like stories, old programs, cultural conditioning, familial programming, generational cycles that have been in the DNA or have been in the etheric field that have held you back or held your family back, where you didn't even know, like maybe not just you, but the general you, especially your family, the genetics, but you don't even know that you're holding yourself back. It's so ingrained. It's so in there that you don't even see another reality. You don't even see another possibility. You just live in this limitation without recognizing it. All of that stuff is being obliterated, and you're being reborn into a higher version of yourself, reborn with a new quantum structure, a new cellular structure, a new divine blueprint, or the divine blueprint that is leaving you in a space of total limitlessness. I will tell you what, card pile 2, because I'm very curious about this and who this is for, because this energy, more than any other reading ever that I've ever done ever, speaks to like spiritual master, speaks to enlightenment. I'm not the kind we tend to think of when it comes to enlightenment, but Jesus, just, you know, even like occult power, but not like black magic, obviously. I haven't even spoke to that. But when I say that, people probably feel like, what? But true spiritual power, energetic strength, energetic power, capable of being shamans or spiritual guides or spiritual teachers. But even the kind that just like stay up in a house or wherever, a cave, and people come and visit you. Like, not that you're going to be like that or have to or choose that or want that. But I'm just saying there's like a level of spiritual mastery here that is more incredible and immense than anything I've ever felt or witnessed in any reading ever. So I just feel like you chose this, you know, this was something you were meant to step into or embody. Again, it doesn't mean that you necessarily for sure become Jesus, but you know, there are versions of that in our current world and reality right now as we speak. Incredible, miraculous healers who across the globe, people who write books and stuff, we would never even know that this is the kind of energy they carry unless we like sat next to them or had a conversation with them. So this could be people that we already know of, you know, in books or thought leaders or really wealthy people around the world. A lot of people have this energy. We might just not be aware of it. And I feel like for you, you're obliterating all old stories that were once holding you or your family or your lineage back. And this was a part of your divine blueprint to really own your highest potential, meaning clearing out those limitations, those stories, and truly in every single meaning of the word or the phrase, being all you can be, like capable of anything. So I feel like whatever is going on right now, you might be concerned about it or curious about it or not really sure where it's taking you. Maybe you've been through an event or a series of events or sequence of events that really has you questioning yourself, doubting your path, wondering what's right and true for you. You know, are you on the right path? Are you doing the right thing? Are you in alignment? What's going wrong? Why does it look like this? You know, a lot of questioning, a lot of doubt, a lot of lack of faith and trust, right? Isn't it funny that it's those experiences where we learn the deepest levels of trust and faith, and that's what you're moving through, that's what you're learning, and yet it's almost like you're hitting up against these old limits and walls, and it is testing your faith, it is testing your trust. And the message is not everything is what it seems, and that oftentimes through the opposite, we are learning to hold its opposite, meaning Oftentimes through scarcity, we are learning, or impoverishment, we are learning wealth and prosperity. Oftentimes through lack of trust and faith, or questioning ourselves, or questioning our faith, or having doubt, we are learning convicted faith and trust. Oftentimes through experiences of disempowerment, we are learning to embody and expand and experience into more empowerment and greater wholeness. So it's like the irony is, yes, you're hitting up against these limits or these questions or whatever, but ultimately it's bringing you to this place of true, powerful, like very rare, untouched mastery. Few people, let's say maybe 10% of the planet has this level of energy, but I feel like it's something you've signed up for. And so I feel like you are in a position, again, of where you're questioning things, wondering, am I on the right path? Are things unfolding? And you might be feeling like you are. It feels like that energy actually of Jesus on the cross, where he's like, God, why have you forsaken me? And in that moment of deep questioning, and that now he's finally hit for the first time probably a lack of faith, that's when he transitions and becomes his higher self, right? He becomes Jesus, the spirit. He's now in the afterlife. But it's like that moment. It's like the crucible, or that juncture, or whatever that is, where everything is like a deep sense of a lack of faith, then transitions to boom, all the power in the world. So I feel like you're hitting up against that, and it kind of feels like a bottleneck where you're kind of being squeezed, and it feels really intense, and you don't know where it's taking you, or if you're on the right path, and it's ultimately birthing you into your highest potential yet. Probably something that you were unaware could even exist, especially within you prior to this change or this shift. So card pile 2, of course, I want to hear from you. Do share your story in the comments, or find me on Facebook, so that way I can hear from you more personally, or email me on my website. I'd love to hear your story, what you're moving through. Please do share. This is a pile of mastery. And do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, you can visit the link below, or go to erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, I do have 2 other YouTube channels. Let's hang out over there. Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Television. Those are also linked near my books on Amazon. Check those out too. All right. Thank you, card pile 2. Until next time. Okay, card pile 3. What is your purpose right now? So card pile 3, it feels like this is an opportunity for you to receive, for you to be taken care of, for you to like put your feet up, let your hair down, and let yourself have it. Like, what do you want? You can get it. What do you want? You can have it. It's like letting life love you up. Let yourself be taken care of, supported, nurtured, helped. It's like letting yourself have it, letting the world support you, letting life support you, letting loved ones support you, letting yourself experience what it's like to have community, or to experience love, or to experience helping hands or other hands in the pot when it's supportive, It's like letting yourself have it. Like, there's a world of people out here, a whole world of 7 billion people, if not more at this point. And to try to do it alone, or experience it alone, or go at it alone, or do it all by yourself, or carry the weight of the world, or like assume responsibility for it all, and to not either include others or have others help. It's like, that's not even a normal existence. And there's nothing wrong with the way that you're doing it. I want to make that clear. And I even relate to this. So there's no shame, and there's no judgment. And if there is shame, we can love that too. We can make room for that too. But it's like, there's a whole world out there of 7 billion people. To try to do it alone is nonsensical, but also absurd, and of course very lonely. But it's almost like life was meant to be done together. It was meant to be done in connection. It was meant to be done in relationship. It was meant to be done side by side. It doesn't mean people have to be saving each other, or rescuing each other, or making each other responsible for each other. It doesn't have to be all these sort of entangled, toxic messes. It can really be satisfying, healthy, conscious, loving, warm relationships. If you don't have those, seek them out. If you do have those, allow them in. Create some time and space for them. Make room for them. We only receive through others, okay? So, and as I say that, I'm being reminded it's not true, but hear me out for a second here. One of the primary ways we receive or learn to receive is through others. God, Great Spirit, Cosmos, Higher Power, Universe, Source, whatever you call it, whatever you consider it, it works through other people. So yes, while we can plug in and receive from nature, from spirit, from our spiritual practices, and of course, be engaging in those too. We do have a card here about community and the collective, so I'm speaking to that primarily, but this is all about you receiving generally also. So what are your filling your cup, plugging in practices, making sure you're creating the space to take deep breaths outside and enjoy nature and take a walk in nature and go out and do like pumpkin festivals or whatever. It's that time of year here right now when it's being filmed. These are all timeless. But it's like, inhaling whatever versions of receiving, if it is taking time off or taking vacation, if it's spending quality time with someone or quality time with a book or with yourself or taking a bath or again, praying, devotion, whatever those practices are for you that really fill you up and bring you energy and bring you support and life force, like that's the answer. That's where you go. You're meant to be plugging in and getting some gas, right? And so there is that message. And just like anything, we all have to eat to get fuel. We have to eat to get energy. But we consume not just through our mouths, but also through media and through other people, like we said, out in nature. So we're always in this flow of giving and receiving, of eating and digesting and eliminating. We all have to stop and get gas, not just for our cars, but for ourselves, for our vehicles, for our bodies, for our vessels. And so one of the primary ways, aside from the ways that we can open up and avail ourselves to the support of God, Great Spirit, Cosmos, Higher Power, Universe, Source, Mother Nature, and so on and so forth, is through other people. So God works through other people. So if we ask for help and we pray and we set the intention for help, but then we say no to the neighbor, or we decline an offer of help, or we say, oh no, never mind, no thank you, or whatever that is we can get in the habit of, we're actually declining the very help we ask for. So oftentimes the universe, if it's not able to give to us through the channels of our own doings like yoga or prayer or sitting out in nature, it's going to try to give to us through other people. And if we have set up our own programs and resistances to say no to the neighbor, decline the friend, never mind, no thank you to everyone, every person, everything that shows up, we're going to find we're not going to be experiencing that much support, that much love, or that much caretaking. And it is very likely the one thing that you want, or one of a few things that you want if you're on this pile and have chose it, so the one thing you want most is caretaking, love, nurturing, warmth, tenderness, support, connection, togetherness, community. And that's the one thing you tend to decline, say no to, not make room for, not make space for, not make time for, don't prioritize, can't prioritize, have a story or an excuse as to why you can't, when you can't, it's too hard, it's too much, I don't know how, you see that? So that's the irony of it all. The one thing you want most is the one thing you won't give yourself. And so what is your purpose right now? To let yourself be supported, to let yourself lean back and see how life can do it, how life can show up for you. But are you willing to lean back and see if life will show up for you? It's like that game where the person stands here and the person stands here, and they actually have to let themselves go, let the person catch them. It's like in this situation, card pile 3, you might be the person who's like unwilling, you won't lean back. You won't even try to let someone catch you. You're like, forget about it. I'm not doing that. But the more you can lean back, the more you'll find that people not only will catch you, but you'll find that life catches you more often than not. But you have to lean back to experience it, to know it, to find that, to perceive that experience. Yeah. Let's see here. Life is much sweeter when it's not only done together, but there is more support and we're able to lean back, to trust, to rest, and to surrender, to give up to God. Life is much sweeter. Life is much more enjoyable. It's like, for some of you, you may be missing the sweetness of life or the enjoyment of life. And it's because of your refusal to, accept and receive help, your refusal to have connection and support, to make space for, to make room for. It's like, all the things that fill your cup or fill you up, those are going to be the things that bring you that sweetness of life. And if that's not what you're prioritizing, it's going to be no wonder that you don't feel that, right? So if you want to enjoy life a little bit more, then you have to be willing to lean back. You have to be willing to let life show you then. Let life show up for you then. Let a friend help you then, And it's so interesting because sometimes we don't even see the help, because sometimes we're like, oh, well, Errity, thanks, but I don't even see any help. There's no one who's offering me anything. Like, what are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like when we're in it, it can be very, very, very difficult to see that, in fact, the reality is different than our perception, especially when that filter is very much ingrained. So you might ask yourself, if I was well supported, what would life look like? Or what would that look like to me? Or if people were offering and asking to help me, what would that look like? Or if I were to be supported, what would I look for to see that as evidence in my reality? If life were really sweet and I had a lot of togetherness and connection, what might that look like for me? And so it's really exploring the avenues of receiving so you can actually see the evidence for that's already in existence in your life. And then it's also about, when you ask those questions, creating space for additional receiving and perhaps the ways that you haven't fully allowed yourself to see, receive, and experience before. Yeah, it's about enjoying life. It's like, I feel like you don't trust other people. I feel like ultimately it might be some work and stuff on the front end and a lack of certainty and like a lack of skill, like not really maybe knowing how, maybe feeling like you're not socially skilled, or that you don't really know how to approach, or you don't know how to human, or, you're kind of introverted, whatever your version of that is. But I think ultimately it's a lack of trust. You're unsure of people, of their true intentions. You're unsure if they actually want to help you. You might be hyper vigilant to nuances and social cues. And so you question their intentions. You question whether or not they really want to. You assume that they actually don't. You feel like you're going to get burned. You feel like you're going to get hurt. You feel like it's not going to work out well. Ultimately, you feel like they're not going to understand you. You've already assumed the end game before it even happens. You assume it's too much work. It's too much effort. It's not going to work. It's not going to pan out anyway. So why bother? It's just a total lack of trust and faith in relationship and togetherness. I implore you to explore your original relationships in your family of origin, or the family that raised you, to see how you have developed this blueprint or this foundation for a belief system that ultimately keeps you away from other people. Meaning, what did you believe about your parents, or what did they make you believe about relationships in terms of what was modeled for you, and then the perception that you made about that, and the assumption then what that became ingrained as a belief system? Or how were things in your family? Did people help or support each other? Did they love and nurture each other? Were they there to caretake and tend to each other? Or were they there just to take and swindle and ultimately, whether betray, violate, or otherwise not serve you or harm you in some way? Then that's more than likely the belief system you've carried, and then it's just been perpetuated in these relationships throughout your life. And now how are relationships even worthwhile? Because it seems like people just take, they swindle, they have nothing to offer you, they don't offer you anything, and so you'd rather just be alone, right? And so explore that foundation, explore those belief systems, because you might again start asking yourself, what would it look like if people did give to me? What would it look like in more mutually beneficial or reciprocal relationships? What does it look like when two people really care for each other? What does it look like to have a group of friends that really love and care for me, and I really love and care for them? So start asking yourself these questions, making room for greater potentials, for expanding into those possibilities, and allowing yourself to really come into greater connection, communion, and receiving with other people and all that is. That is your purpose right now. So I'd love to hear from you. Do share your story in the comments. Do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, check out the link below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, I do have 2 other YouTube channels: Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Television. Those, of course, are linked below as well, right next to my 2 books on Amazon, which you might check out and see if they tickle your fancy. Thank you, Card Pile 3.